Hello there. Today we have something that every genealogist struggles with, and I'm going to help you overcome. This is going to be an amazing journey to help you guys break through the maiden name dead end. Hello there. Welcome. My name is Franklin, and you are watching the Family History Foundation over on this channel. Also at familyhistoryfoundation.com, you'll find our site, our blog, and our motto is the past relative to the future. Again, head on over to familyhistoryfoundation.com. It's Family History Fridays, where we release all of our stuff on Fridays, videos and articles. All right, let's get into this. And thanks, by the way, for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you have a moment. And so the maiden name dead end, this is something that has plagued every genealogist, myself included. So I'm going to give you 3 hidden ways, secret ways, powerful ways that looking sideways, will solve your family mystery. And I'm going to tell you what that means to look sideways in just a second. So every experienced family historian knows the moment you follow the direct line back only to hit a crushing wall where a marriage record is missing that important wife's or spouse's last name. And the failure to find the wife's maiden name isn't just a hurdle. It's a terrifying genealogical obstacle known as the maiden name dead end that stops or can stop, has the potential to stop an entire branch of your tree. For sure. So I'm going to give you tips right here to help you break through that. So you've searched through these records, census, marriages, births, to no avail, staring blankly at a husband's name while the identity of his partner and the key to her ancestral line remains frustratingly elusive. This is one of the most discouraging brick walls in all of genealogy. And there are reasons for this, as you know. So if you're ready to move past the frustration and finally solve your family mystery, it's time to stop looking backward and start looking sideways at the family's associates, legal documents, and neighbors. That's right. This is going to be our technique. The classic linear approach to genealogy, moving directly from child to parent, often fails when key vital records are missing or simply non-existent. So overcoming this requires a paradigm shift, moving from direct research to what I call lateral research. So this is going to be your tool that we're going to use today. So lateral research involves studying the entire family unit: siblings, children, cousins, neighbors, close associates, often called collateral lines. You're going to search around, to find a record that names your elusive matriarch's parents or family connections. These records that name the father of the wife are usually found within the context of her extended kin, not in documents that directly follow her own marriage. So this is what we're going to do. We have 3 powerful techniques. The first one is the power of sibling circles, where lateral research is the key. The second one is the power of paper trails. We're going to teach you how to unveil the truth behind land records and probate records and deeds and things like that. And 3, finally, the unsung heroes of censuses and city directory details. Now, there are clues as to how things are demarcated, abbreviations and such. We also have a little quiz going on in here and much, much more. So thanks for locking in. Take the time to like and subscribe, share this video, and head on over to familyhistoryfoundation.com for more, or keep watching because we got a lot of videos that are there for you. So let's get into it. Number 1, the power of sibling circles. Lateral research is the key. So the most fundamental shift in solving the maiden name dead end comes from understanding that the information you seek might not be about your direct ancestor at all. It's about her brothers, sisters, and children. In earlier generations, the family unit was often a close, legally intertwined, and geographically concentrated entity. When one sibling moved, often the others followed, and their documents often contain the clues you need. This is true for me. When I think it was my 7th great-grandfather died, the oldest child of 14 decided he's going to pack up the entire family and move them to a different county So this is definitely true for my line. So following the siblings, low-hanging fruit. When your ancestor's marriage record fails to name her parents, immediately pivot to finding the records for her known siblings. Why? Because the sister's marriage record might be indexed better, or it might have been recorded in a different jurisdiction with a more detailed form. You never know what you're going to get, but you have to go and look. For instance, in one county, a marriage license might simply list the groom and bride. In an adjacent county, a nearby identical license may require the names of both the bride's parents, including the mother's maiden name. And this would solve the maiden name dead end instantly. Okay. So similarly, research for death certificates of all of the children. Before the 1940s, it was common for an elderly relative, often a spouse, but sometimes a child, to provide information for a death certificate. And this is kind of the crapshoot, if you will. You never know who filled out the form. Sometimes it was a friend or associate or family, but sometimes they knew the maiden name and they write it down. Oftentimes you just get unknown on the forms. So, if they have siblings, look for all of them. And that's where I've broken through this in my own research. So cluster research, and we're going to go back to the fan principle. We talked about the fan principle in the previous video on unlocking common name ancestors, but this fan principle is very, very important. It's going to help you as a critical sort of component of solving this maiden name dead end. And it's looking at family, associates, and neighbors. That's what FAN stands for. It's family, associates, and neighbors. So it's researching around the sphere of the person that you're researching. If you can't find all the information directly, you fan out, okay? So your ancestors didn't exist in a vacuum, obviously, right? Just like we don't today, they didn't back then. On census records from 1850 onward, examine the dwelling numbers and household groupings. Who lived immediately next door? So on a census record, this would involve looking up the list and down the list, a page forward and a page backward, okay? If you notice on the very, very far columns where all these numbers are written that nobody usually pays attention to, those are lot numbers, or those are tax map key numbers of some sort, right? And they tell you, they can tell you the surveyor, or they can tell you the larger sort of where everyone fits into a family unit, or who are the neighbors. So it's important to look at those. And oftentimes on those censuses, they're not in order as they're indexed. And I've run across this several times. So neighbors, people are living immediately next to your ancestor in the census, especially in rural areas where often relatives married a sister or cousin or even parent were right next door or right to the next farm. Yeah, so looking at neighbors. Associates, go back to the original documents you already have, inspect the records, baptismal records for children, naturalization papers, who are the witnesses, godparents, bondsmen. This is a huge clue too, because you can find out maybe if that family is related. Just keep that family name in mind, and maybe it might appear somewhere else, okay? So this might help you break through the maiden name dead end. Look at the associates and keep track of those things. And you can use my genealogy research online, the one ultimate user-friendly beginner's guide. So the census and naming patterns, let's spend a second looking at this. Beyond who the head of household was. While census might seem like a direct record, it holds immense lateral power. So you can look again at who existed on the page up and down, note the names of the children. Did they follow traditional naming patterns? Was the first son named after the paternal grandfather, and so on and so forth? Look for these things, and this might help you to solve this maiden name question. So let's move into a quiz really quickly. Okay, that was number one. That's what we have for you. And before we get into number two, the power of paper trails, let's do a quick question. We got 1, 2, 3 questions here. Okay, are you ready? Are you feeling ready for a quiz? So question 1, here we go. We're gonna make you think on this one, okay? I know you showed up to watch this video and learn, but I'm gonna make you think, because actually the best way to retain knowledge, did you know this, in terms of basic neurology, is to repeat something, is to actually take on the knowledge yourself and teach others. So I'm going to quiz you so that you can quiz others and use this if you say it out loud. Okay, so here we go. You're going to walk away from this video knowing a lot more than just passively watching. Okay, you're participating. So question 1, you are searching for the maiden name of Martha, married in 1845. The marriage record is a maiden name dead end. Which record of the 3 I'm going to give you is most likely to name her father directly? A, Martha's 1870 census. B, the 1905 death certificate of Martha's oldest son. Or C, the 1855 probate record, a will, of a man named John Smith, who owned property adjacent to Martha and her husband, who witnessed by Martha's brother. Sorry. Okay, you got your answer there? I'm going to give you all the answers at the very end. Mark your answers down. Question 2, why is focusing on a sibling's death certificate often a more successful strategy than focusing on your own ancestor's death certificate to break the maiden name dead end? Yeah. So why is focusing on a sibling's death certificate often more successful? A, sibling records are simply easier to find online. Or B, the sibling's informant might have had closer knowledge of the parents' names. Or C, the sibling's death certificate is required by law to name the mother's maiden name, unlike the ancestors. I don't know if I like that one. Okay. And 3, you have your answer for that? Okay. What is Dower research and how does it relate to solving the maiden name dead end? A, it's a specialized term for searching ship passenger lists for a woman's travel date. It's a land record that documents a widow's right to use a portion of her deceased husband's land, but it never names the family. Or it's a land record that forces the wife to release her legal interest in a property sale. Ooh, what do you have? You got your answers? Okay, well, the answers are for question 1, C, for question 2, B, and for question 3, it's C. Ooh, yeah. If you got sucked into B for question 3, that's a good guess. That was a good guess. All right, let's move on. Let's get this, all of this under belt here. Okay, so 2, the power of paper trails, land records, and probates. If lateral family research doesn't yield immediate results, the next most powerful solution for the maiden name dead end lies in the dusty, complex, and often overlooked world of land and probate records. Nobody likes to dig for these, but you have to dig for these. Yeah, these court and legal documents were meticulous because land and inheritance were the most valuable assets. This is true today and back then. So it's very important, and they're going to take extra care, is what I'm saying, in creating these documents because they were the most valuable thing people had. And they were often recorded in such a way that eliminated the risk of the maiden name dead end from a legal standpoint. Often, but not always. So let's look at dower rights. We just talked about dower rights. Prior to the 20th century, a married woman possessed a legal interest in her husband's land, which was called a dower right. Yeah, so in some regions, this was called thirds because you actually had a third interest. And so this meant if the husband died, the wife had a lifetime interest in 1/3 of his property, according to this standard dower rights law. If the husband wanted to sell the land while he was alive, the wife had to officially relinquish her dower right to ensure clear title. Yeah. And so sometimes when you're looking at this thing, it could help you understand the relationship of the wife and her maiden name to the property and might clue you in on some avenues of research. So when you're looking at these, look for if the wife is named. The deed will name the wife, the person with the missing maiden name, and require her to sign. You might capture that information there. Paternal consent. In some states, particularly for younger brides, the release of the dower right had to be witnessed or consented by the bride's father or a close male relative. And this would give you her maiden name right there instantly. If you could match that was the father or a brother, then you have her maiden name. Prior marriage clues. Sometimes the deed or will mention land that was inherited from the wife's former husband, and you can get a maiden name that way. Or more critically, the deed may specify that the wife inherited the land from her father, effectively providing the maiden name and the father's name in one record. Yeah, and this kind of detail can instantly break this maiden name dead end that has plagued your research for years. Okay, so from Dower records to probate records, the will and the missing daughter. Sounds like a movie or something, or a new series that's going to be released. Probate records are arguably the most powerful resource for solving this maiden name dead end. So have you looked at probate records? Comment down below. Yes, I've read a ton of them, or no, I know nothing about probate records, and maybe we can help each other get to understand probate records because they are very, very interesting. And as a consequence, you're going to learn to read old handwriting. Yeah. And if you want a guide on reading old handwriting, I have an article for you over on the familyhistoryfoundation.com in my videos. So check it out. So here we go. When it comes to probate records, you want to identify the married daughter. When a father leaves property to his married daughter, he will almost always refer to her by her married name to prevent confusion. Okay, and this is not what you want. You don't want the married name. However, he may sometimes use a phrase like "my daughter Martha, wife of John Brown," or occasionally "my daughter Martha, nee Smith." Yeah, so like if you can connect that person to the wife of somebody, then you know that's the daughter. And if it's the will coming from the father, then you have captured the maiden name. Or like I said, occasionally Nee Smith. So if you've ever seen this parentheses N-E-E Smith, then you know that means maiden name Smith. So it's kind of a crucial clue to understand in genealogy. Or the widow's claim. If the woman with the missing maiden name is listed as a daughter in the will of a man with a matching surname, this is usually proof positive. So to confirm, check the estate's distribution records to see if the husband's name appears as the recipient of the daughter's portion. Yeah, and this is legal paper trail can help unlock this maiden name dead end mystery. Yeah. And so if you want further techniques on researching, I have a cool article. Whyancestry.com is the #1 genealogy website for boldly building your forever family tree. It's the way to go and the way I recommend. So let's get to number 3, the unsung heroes of censuses and city directory details. I mentioned the census earlier, and I really am passionate about city directories because I have had so many breakthroughs when I've researched city directories. They don't exist everywhere throughout time, but if you have an ancestor that lived in a city or a town or someplace in the United States that has had city directories, then use them. You know, if you don't have them, well, you can't use them. But if they exist in a place that had city directories, especially extensive ones, like I've researched in Connecticut, the Connecticut city directories are fabulous, and I've extracted so much detail. But you know what? I had to sit there and read all the city directories, but I really was able to piece together family connections that way. So I'm a proponent of this for sure. So if your search takes you back to, say, 1880, 1900, 1910, any of these U.S. federal censuses, you have a powerful tool at your fingertips that may overlook. The columns for place of birth for father and place of birth of mother, while these don't provide any maiden names per se, they provide an essential geographical clue that might help you, right? You may not think this is connected to finding the maiden name, but it could. So do the birthplace trail. If your ancestor was born in state A, but her parents are born in state B, you've just narrowed your search field fairly dramatically. Now, pivot to state B's records, where the marriage and thus the maiden name is likely recorded. So follow that trail, right? Foreign-born ancestors. For immigrant ancestors, these columns are priceless within this time range. Yeah, they tell you the specific country example like Prussia or Bavaria, not just Germany, right? So they're going to tell you, and of course, the geography of Europe was fairly different. Like if we're just using Germany as an example, modern unified Germany back in the 1800s was not the same because there were city-states that existed as their own countries. Like, for example, Hamburg was its own city-state before. So it might say the names of those places as actual countries instead of Germany. You might also have ancestors from Eastern Europe, maybe that would say Russia, and you may not think, well, we're not from there, but it could be referring to Latvia or Lithuania, which was occupied during that time. Yeah, so you could have that as well. So don't let that throw you off. Which is why I like to say that we are doing family history, and you have to know the history behind the era through which you're researching. It's going to help you understand your ancestors better and not miss those opportunities, those vital clues when they're right in front of your face. You don't want to dismiss them and think, that doesn't mean anything, because the best way is to stay informed about history and the context of your ancestors' lives in terms of what was happening, what was their social political dynamics, what was going on, where did they live, geography, town names, city names, weather patterns. I don't know, like anything at all might help you clue you in, right? And when I say weather patterns, I'm really not being facetious, because oftentimes I was tracking ancestors' movements. If you go farther back enough, you could say, oh, there was a plague during the period of these years, or there was a famine during this period of time. And it's like, well, that explains why they moved, or what they did, or why they put something on some record somewhere because of that. So it's really the context of your family history. Okay. Okay. So that was a little rampage right there, but city directories. So let's call it the widow name clue game. Okay. The best way sometimes to really break past brick walls and find the things that you're looking for is to gamify it. Yeah. Make a game out of it. Don't just take it seriously and make it some pedantic exercise, but gamify it. Make it fun. Make it sort of like inviting, make it intriguing, like a mystery. Okay. So if you gamify things, this is a great psychological tool to help you stay in your lane, stay in your research. Yeah. So city directories, let's make a little game out of this. They were usually published annually in most urban areas and can be highly granular lateral research tools that can break a seemingly impenetrable maiden name dead end. Yeah, when the husband died, the widow's listing in the city directory often changed dramatically. And this is where you can search from year to year to year. And when you see a change, you go with that. You latch on to that. And that's been my success technique. So if the widow with the elusive maiden name lived in a city after her husband's death, the directory might list her as Smith, Mary, widow John, right? Then okay? Crucially, genealogists often forget that the widowed mother may have moved in with one of her married children, right? Can happen. If your brick wall ancestor, let's call her Elizabeth, lived with her mother after 1900, Mary's obituary or death notice will likely name her surviving children, including her daughter, Elizabeth. And this might help you. This confirms the identity of the mother, and the mother's obituary might just name her own parents, right? So you have to take these bits of information, follow them on, and just sort of try and track down a record that can corroborate the maiden name, right? And I've seen this happen in one of my collateral lines where, the elderly mother moved in with one of the daughters. And so the census and relatives, now you want to look for clues that exist in abbreviations as well. When you're looking at these censuses, always look at column B or columns inland, which notes the relationship of each person to the head of household. If your ancestor, the husband, has a person listed as a mother-in-law or a sister-in-law, this is a vital clue, okay? So if your mother-in-law is listed, you have the surname, the missing maiden name, and her first name. Then you can search for her death certificate or probate record to find her parents, which would move you past the maiden name dead end. Also, the sister-in-law. A sister-in-law is the wife's sister, right? And her entry will confirm her own maiden name and give you a new family member to track laterally through records. So again, you're just expanding your field of friends, associates, and neighbors. The fan technique. Yeah, so there's a lot to do here. And basically, it's using lateral research. And you may not find that elusive maiden name or break through the maiden name dead end instantly, but through these techniques, right, I've just kind of expanded your toolkit, if as it were, so that you can just push your research forward and, be vigilant. And really, when you're going to hit, it's kind of a numbers game in this scenario, because the more you do, the more records you come across, right, the more chances it increases the probability of you finding something. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to find something every time, but gamify it, make it fun, share your research, comment down below in these videos of your successes and how you've sort of done things, and inspire others, as I like to say. So in conclusion, the journey to family history is not always a straight line. Sometimes the most challenging moments, like facing the maiden name dead end, demand the most creative solutions. Absolutely, right? By shifting your perspective and embracing lateral research, you unlock powerful records that contain the critical details that research simply could not provide, right? And, for me, when you get tired, stop, get back to it. Don't let it frustrate you, okay? And remember, your family tree is a network. It's not just a ladder. When we're going back, we often just want to do our direct lines. But, this fan principle and basically seeing our family tree as a tree, as a network, is very, very powerful because it offers you much, much more. While it may seem daunting, right? Because it's like the farther you go back, every generation basically increases or doubles, and then it becomes exponential. That's a lot more stuff to research. But think about it like this way, and this is how you gamify it. That's just more opportunities for you to break through brick walls, because there's more people that can help you provide information. Yeah. So thanks for locking in. Okay. So in the article itself, follow the link below. You can head over to Family History Foundation. This video is kind of like a 80% summation of it, and you get everything you get in the article in this video. You're not missing anything. You're getting everything absolutely of value here. But over in the article, I have a section on frequently asked questions about this. So go over and read that. You can join the conversation that's going on. And I have some infographics for you in the article itself. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. This is the Family History Foundation. Like and subscribe. Hit that like and subscribe button. Keep this Family History Foundation channel active and growing, fanning out. And again, I just want to thank you guys. Thank you guys, gals, family, for tuning in, watching, and supporting Family History Foundation. Have a great, wonderful day. See you in the next one. Family History Fridays. Check it out.